Hi, welcome to today's session. This one is by request from one of my clients. We did this earlier this week and she asked that I put it on video so that she can do it at home whenever she finds some free time. All you need for this is some kind of weight for your hands. If you have little dumbbells, you can use 2 or 3 pounds. I'm using some cans. You can use soup cans, these are bean cans. It is just a little extra weight that you need in your arms to make the abs work a little bit harder and to get a little bit of work in the stabilizing shoulder. So if you have dumbbells at home, great. If you have soup cans at home, great. If not, you can also do this without, but it's just gonna add a little bit extra work for you. So we're gonna go ahead and start on your back. Have your cans or weights handy. And then I also do have a towel here for when we do a side lying portion to support my neck. If you want one, go grab one real quick. If not, it's not 100% necessary. So that is just up to you. I'm gonna swivel around and lie on my back. And from here, I wanna start with my arms. I'm gonna just move those so you can see my shoulders without the weight, just to warm them up a little bit. And we're gonna be doing these same motions with the cans momentarily. So on your back, neutral pelvis, so 2 hip bones and pubic bone should be on the same plane. And you can have your feet either all the way together or just underneath those hip bones, whatever is most comfortable for you. From here, try to make sure that your ribs are pulling down and your shoulder blades are pulling down the back. From here, I'm gonna reach my arms directly overhead, palms facing each other, and I'm just going to start with a gentle one arm reaching back. And so as I'm doing this, I'm really keeping my shoulder blade pulling down the back and I'm keeping my ribs in by engaging my abs. And so what you don't want is to arch through that back or arch through those ribs to try to get the hand to touch the ground. You're really just trying to move the arm as far as it will go in the socket without any clicking and without any spine movement. So here, I'm just gonna alternate. Inhale as the arm comes up to center. Exhale as the arm reaches back. And we're just doing a few of these. Again, we're just trying to get the shoulders moving before we add any weight. And I know that this is a super lightweight, but it's always better to be safe. As you do these, you might feel that you have more range in one arm than the other. That is normal. As we go through life, we generally use one side more than the other. It gets tighter, possibly some old injuries that keep us from moving in full range. Meeting in the center, both arms are now gonna reach back. Ribs are closed, palms stay facing each other. And here I want you to move only as far back as you can in the less mobile shoulder. So for me, I have injured my right shoulder a few times, and so I'm gonna only move my left arm as far as my right arm will go. Last one. Good. If you feel like you need a little bit more in the shoulders, just take a moment, do whatever you need, but I'm just gonna go ahead and grab my weights. Now, we're gonna have those arms overhead. It's the same positioning of the arms. So now I have the weights in my hands, but my palms are facing each other. My hands are directly over my shoulders. My ribs are in, my tailbone is neutral. I'm gonna deepen my abs and I'm gonna bring one leg up into tabletop. And then I'm gonna bring the other leg up to meet it. From here, we're gonna do a single leg drop. So you're gonna keep your knee at a 90-degree angle and move your upper leg bone in the socket to drop the toes towards the mat. And now as you do this, you're going to reach the opposite arm back towards the ear. So exhale as you drop the leg and reach back with one arm. And bring it back up to meet in center. And we're gonna alternate sides, shoulder blades staying anchored, ribs staying in, abs staying tight, and back up. And as I let this leg drop, I'm not arching my back. I'm just letting that leg get heavy. I'm holding my legs up from my lower abs and not my hip flexors or my quads. As you're doing this, if you're feeling your neck or your upper traps getting tight, then you're probably not anchoring your shoulder blades down the back enough. And last one with alternating, meet back in the center, reconnect those abs, closing those ribs. Now, both legs are gonna drop down towards the mat, keeping that 90-degree angle at the knee. Both arms are gonna reach back towards your ears. So ribs stay tight as the legs drop and back up. As you do both legs together, it's gonna be harder to keep your back from arching, so I don't expect you to get as low as you were with a single leg. What's important to me is that you keep your spine safe and you keep your shoulders safe. And so the range is whatever you can do keeping those two things safe. 2 more here. Exhale as you move away from the center, and inhale as you come back to the center. And last one. Good. And we're gonna go into single leg extension. So my right leg is going to extend and my left arm is going to reach back. And so it's the same alternating pattern we just did for the single leg drops, but now you're extending that leg out long. Try to make sure that as you're extending one leg, the other knee is staying directly above the hip. I don't want it pulling in towards the chest because that means you're more likely to displace those hips and not be using the abs. That right there was a demo of what not to do. And one more here. Now, both legs extend, both arms go back. I want you to really think about the pubic bone curling forward and up as you do your extension to keep your lower abs tight and working and to keep your lower back out of it. If you're feeling lower back and not abs, take the legs on a higher angle. So you can go straight up as long as you're pulling that belly in. And if you find that you are strong enough, you can go even lower. 2 more here. Good. And now we're going to take both legs up to the ceiling. I always like to say that if your hamstrings aren't flexible enough to have your legs straight up, then you can have a long diamond. So I want you to extend your legs, heels together, toes apart. If you need to, a slight bend in the knee, but I want your feet to try to be above your hips, not down, okay? So from here, it's the same thing. You're gonna start with a single leg and then we're gonna do the double leg. So my right leg reaches long and my left arm reaches back. And as I do this, I notice the engagement between the rib and the hip. As the weight of that leg goes down, you really have to engage more. If you get any hip clicking on the leg that's lowering, you want to stop right before it clicks. So don't push through that clicking and clunking. If you notice that happening, reach out to me directly and we can discuss ways to try and fix that. And once more. And then once again, both legs lower, both arms go back. And return to center. And again, when both legs are moving, your range might be a little bit less. And if you need the bend, both legs looks like this. Good. Nice. Drop those knees into the chest, a gentle hug, rock side to side. Now we're going to move into just a couple of exercises where we're adding the curl of the torso. And anytime we're doing the curl of the torso, I want you to think that you're curling from your ribs closing to your hips. So as I curl up, I'm thinking about the abs deepening and my ribs pulling towards my pelvis. I'm not thinking of leading with my head or neck. So we're gonna have those soup cans or weights up towards the ceiling, and we're gonna bring those legs back up into tabletop. And from here, we're going to think of closing the ribs off on the exhale to curl our sternum to ceiling, and we're reaching those weights or cans straight up and back down. Now I have switched so that instead of my palms facing each other, my palms are facing towards my thighs. And that is for something later on in the series. But if you feel like you want to keep your palms facing each other for right now, that's fine. And we're going to stay up on the next one. Stay curled, keep those ribs closed, keep the tailbone heavy, and the arms reach back. And the arms reach up. As you're doing this, you're trying to make sure that your shoulders are not lowering as the weight is going back. Good. And now from here, as you lower the torso, you're going to bend the elbows wide to a 90-degree angle, and you're going to bring the legs down into a butterfly position. And then on the exhale, you're going to deepen the abs, close the ribs, curl up, extend the elbows, and bring the knees together. So everything opens on the inhale. Elbows open, knees open, chest goes down. And then exhale, everything draws into the midline. Good. And now you're going to bend the elbows by the ribs, and you're going to inhale, extend the arms and legs, hold your breath, open and close the legs. Exhale, deepen the knees to the chest and bend the elbows. So you're curling up higher with the ribs. Inhale, extend, open, close. Exhale, bend the knees, bend the arms, 2. Open, close. Open, close. 2 more. Stay curled up. Try to get the shoulder blades off the mat. Curl higher, higher, higher as you bring it in. Last one. And lower it down. Gently rock side to side. And go ahead and place your soup cans to your sides. We're going to use those again in a moment, but then we're just going to rock up to sitting. Good. So our lying on our back series is done. We're going to do some roll downs here. So grab your weights again if you're using them. And arms are going to reach out in front of you. Take a deep breath in, shoulder blades down the back. Try to stack your spine on your sits bones. So don't start with that curl in the lower spine or a curl in the thoracic spine. Sitting up really nice and tall, you're stacked. So your sits bones are those little bony points underneath your pelvis. It's like if you're sitting on bleachers for too long, they get kind of bruised. And so starting there, arms in front, inhale where you are here. Exhale, deepen the abs by drawing the lower abs in and the pubic bone forward and up to start a curl of the lower spine. And you're gonna roll back to the bottom of the ribs or bottom of the shoulder blades. Inhale at the bottom, exhale, deepen the abs, try to deepen and scoot to roll up. So what you're trying to do is avoid using hip flexors or quads on the way up. So scoop through the lower abs, draw that pubic bone forward and up. Inhale at the back. Try to exhale, flatten the abs, and curl up, stack the spine. 2 more here in the center. Scoop through the lower abs, draw that pubic bone forward and up. Deepen and curl. Stack the spine, last one. Great. So this next little portion, we're going to add an arm movement while you're curled back. So if you have any lower back problems, I want you to keep your feet on the mat for this part, and you're just going to roll back off those sits bones, but not all the way back. So you want to be back far enough that you are having to use your abdominal muscles to stay there, not popped up there with an arch in the back or the flat back. So if I'm here, I'm counterbalancing. I'm using my hip flexors and quads to stay up instead of my abs. So if you feel like you're getting really into the front line of that leg, reevaluate where you're sitting. I am going to do this with my feet up off the mat, and if you don't have any lower back issues, I highly suggest you trying this, at least for some of the arm series here. So you're going to start in that nice tall long position, inhale at the top, and exhale, scoop through the lower abs, draw the pubic bone forward and up as you roll off those sits bones. If you're lifting the feet, draw one leg in towards you and then float that leg off the mat. Keep the curl back off the sits bones, deepen the abs more as you pick the other leg up. Now, if you would like, you can squeeze those knees in. You could put a ball between your knees if you need to and squeeze in. I personally like to have my knees externally rotated a little bit to stay more out of those hip flexors, so I'm gonna do a long diamond. Here you're gonna inhale, lower the arms towards the mat. Exhale, deepen the belly to bring the arms just to shoulder height. So you're trying to move the arms in the socket. Try to keep your collarbones wide as you do this. Stay low, and we're just going to do bicep curl. And while these weights are probably not very challenging for your biceps, what you're trying to do is use your abs to stabilize as the weight is moving from closer to your body to further from your body. So this looks like an arm exercise, but it's really an ab exercise. Good, and come up. Inhale nice and tall, lift that sternum to the ceiling. And exhale, just curl back through the spine. And again, hands under the thighs, inhale, lift up. And exhale, just curling back. You're just giving that lower back a little break. And we're gonna finish off the arms in that roll down. So arms are in front of you, inhale. Exhale, scoop and curl back off the sits bones. Deepen the abs, drag one leg in and up. I like to start with the opposite leg from what I did the first time. And you're staying curled back off those sits bones. Exhale, deepen the abs as the arms go up. And inhale as the arms come back to shoulder height. So the thing you want to think about here is that you're not going to pop up the chest or the hips in between those arms. That's a constant negotiation happening. Good. From here, I'm going to put one can of weights down, can of beans or weights, and you're going to do your roll down with just one arm. Legs are going to come back up, and I want you to bend your elbows so that you're holding that weight in the middle of your chest. From here, you're going to open it out. The weight is in one hand. You're opening those arms out to the side, and then you're going to pass the weight in front of your chest. As you're doing this, you're not letting any rocking happening in the pelvis. And you want to make sure that your fingertips are still visible in your peripheral vision. And roll it back up. You can place the can down. And we're just gonna do those spinal arch curls again. So this time I want your hands on your shins because you're not holding those weights. And just lift that chest up to the ceiling. Little thoracic extension. And scoop through the belly to pull it back. And just 2 more there. And last one. Good. So for the rest of this, we only need 1 weight. So if you only had 1 little dumbbell lying around, now is a good time to grab it. And if you're using a towel, grab your towel. We are going to lie down on our side. And I'm just gonna show you that if you want, you can stay up here, but your neck is at a little bit of a crunched angle on the top side. And if you go all the way down, your neck is a little crunched angle on the bottom side. And so that's where your towel comes in. You can place that towel under your head in order to get a little bit more support and try to align that neck so that you're not getting too much of a shortening on either side. I do want you to maintain your normal side lying position so your shoulders, ribs, and hips are lined up. And then I want you to think about that top hip bone reaching down. I'm gonna have both knees bent, and it doesn't matter how high they're bent, I just want you to make sure that they're stacked so that my top knee is on my bottom knee. We don't wanna be lazy in our torso, even though this is a arm exercise and not a leg exercise. So you're gonna take your weight, and I want you to start by doing some external rotations of the upper arm bone in the shoulder. Abs are tight. And you're just trying to find that spiral of the upper arm bone, not just from the elbow. So that elbow can spiral a lot. So we're not looking for the cheating of the lower arm. We're trying to really find that these muscles under here are getting some work. And then find that rotation, keep that rotation. As you keep that rotation, keep reaching long out that top hip, and the arm's gonna come up, and you wanna stack it, reach it straight to the ceiling, so you're not lifting that shoulder, bringing it above shoulder height. You're really trying to think of the shoulder blades staying pulling down the back as the arm reaches up, and lengthen to come down. If you've had shoulder injuries in the past and it's too much to do it even just with a tiny bit of weight, this is still beneficial to do with no weight. When you do all of these exercises lying on your side, gravity helps pull that upper arm bone into the socket where it needs to be. So I want you to bend the elbow at a 90-degree angle, and now you're rotating that upper arm in the socket again. And I'm not looking for how high the hand is towards the ceiling. I'm looking for the movement to be happening in the joint and not from the ribs opening. Remember, with a lot of these movements, smaller is actually better. It means you're working those smaller muscles instead of letting the bigger ones take over. And last one. Good. So remove your towel, and I want you to place your elbow under your shoulder. Bend your bottom knee so that your knee is in line with your pelvis. You have a straight line going through the whole front line of your body, and you're going to straighten the top leg and place the inner line of that foot on the mat. From here, I really want you, before you pick up your weight, I want you to think about lifting that bottom armpit up. So your shoulder blade is pulling down the back. You're trying to think as if somebody has a swing that's underneath your rib cage, and it's just pulling that rib cage up, and it's keeping that lift there. Go ahead and grab your weight in your top hand, and from here, I want you to think about pulling the belly in and up, Shoulder blades are pulling down the back, collarbones are wide, and you're just gonna lift up into your half kneeling side plank and bring that arm up. And you can go ahead and sweep it overhead if your shoulder allows, and then bring it back down. And all the way up. Two more here. And then we get to the fun stuff. So staying up, keep that arm reaching straight up over your shoulder here. And from here, you want to have the weight into the bottom knee. You're going to start lifting that top leg up. So internally rotate the top leg at the femur, press long through that heel and reach it up and back down. Abs are tight. Reaching out through the heel, out and up through the heel. Stay up on this next one. Abs super tight as you swing the leg front and back. As you're doing this, you're trying to keep the hips from rocking. Trying to stay internally rotated. And we're going to do circles here. So start by going to the front, up and around to the back. Keep reaching long out the top of the spine. Lifting that pelvic floor, lifting the belly. Trying to lift up off that bottom arm and shoulder and reverse. If you're okay staying up, continue to stay up. If it's too much, you can come back down into that position that you are on for the arms and do your remaining side lying legs there. I'm going to go back up to my elbow for these last few. Good. Lower the leg down, lower the hip down, and coming sitting up. We're going to switch over, do all of that on the other side. So I am just going to grab my towel and bring it to the other side of my mat. And it's the same setup here. So as you do this, you want to try to make sure that your shoulders, ribs, and hips are lined up. I like to use the back of my mat as a good guideline. You're gonna bend the knees. Again, I want them stacked on top of each other, but they can be up to 90 or down a little bit lower. For this part, it doesn't really matter. Reach that top hip long. So again, that sits bone is the bony point underneath your pelvis. Reach that as far out as you can to get a lift on the bottom side. I'm gonna add my towel under my head just to help a little bit. And from here, sorry, I have to get that perfect. From here, we're gonna grab that weight. And from here, I'm gonna just start with the spiraling of the upper arm in the socket. And release. So the trick of this is now this is the shoulder that was just stabilizing for all of your side plank series. So it might be a little tired. Take some extra care, really focus on what you're feeling in that shoulder joint and make sure that you are rotating only as far as you can from the bone in the socket and not, again, trying to do it from moving the ribs or moving the arm front to back. Keep that spiral of the upper arm and you're going to carry that arm up so you don't want to get the weight past where your shoulder is. And back down. Abs nice and tight as the shoulder blade pulls down the back. Keeping the lift in that bottom oblique. And again, if you've had any shoulder injuries and the weight feels like it's too much, do all of this without weight. It's still working. The muscles in your shoulder are teeny tiny, and it does not take much if you're moving properly for them to get some work. Bend the elbow at a 90-degree angle. I don't want that elbow slouched into the rib cage. Keep that elbow away from your body a little bit. Keep that top hip reaching down, and just spiral the upper arm in the socket and back down. Making sure that you're keeping the elbow joint stable as you're rotating in the shoulder joint. So don't let your bicep do any of this work. Okay, so from there, we are going to set up for our side planks. So I'm gonna move my towel. I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna put my elbow directly underneath my shoulder. And I'm gonna bring my bottom knee in line with my hips. From here, my knee is bent to a 90-degree angle on the bottom. My top leg is straight with the inner line of my foot pressing down. And I am going to lift up out of that bottom shoulder, drawing that shoulder blade down the back. Collarbone is nice and wide. Weight in the hand if you're using it. Keep those collarbones wide as you lift those hips up. And the arm is going to come up and over. And then lower the hips down, but don't sink in the shoulder joint. So I lift it up, and then I'm lowering through the pelvis, but not collapsing the shoulder. That's really going to start to bother that shoulder. Imagine that your hips are between two panes of glass. You're not rocking backwards or forwards as you lift. And stay up on this last one. Arm is now reaching up towards the ceiling, directly above your shoulder. Internally rotate that top leg as much as you can from the femur. Rotating from the foot doesn't do much, although we all try. Keep reaching long out that heel, abs tight, lift the leg, and lower the leg. And so I am trying to think of lifting my leg above hip height if I can, from the muscles in this outer glute. Stay up on the next one. And we're going to swing the leg to the front, through the center to the back. As you do this, you're trying to keep the leg along the same height. It's hard when it goes to the back, it wants to dip down. Two more. Try to stay internally rotated if you can. My ballerina hips are very challenged in that direction. Good. So we're going to do the leg circles. Again, if you need to come down, the more intermediate version of this is you're staying down here and you're bringing the leg front, up and around, and then to the back. And around to the back. The version we're doing is on the knee. And then if you wanted it more advanced, you could take it all the way out into a full plank and do it. We're going to reverse the circle, take the leg to the back, up and around to the front. You guys are so close. And last one. Good. Bring the leg down, put your weight down, and coming up. So, a couple versions of hip stretches. I've done the seated stretch with you all before. So today we are going to do the version where we lie on our back. So I just want you to swivel around onto your back again. And you're going to take one leg and you want to bend the knee and externally rotate at the hip. And you're going to cross that ankle over the knee of the other side. Now, if you're really tight in your hips, just sitting here and pushing that knee back could be enough of a stretch for you in the glutes. I like to pick that whole position up, thread my hand through the hole that the bent knee is making, and then I just grab my hands along the thigh of the other leg. So if you straightened the bent knee that is not attached, that looks like a 4, and so this is called your figure 4 stretch. I'm gonna go ahead and bend that in so that you all don't end up murdering your hamstrings. And what ideally is getting the hip to stretch is that external rotation in the knee. So if you don't have a lot of natural external rotation, you can take one hand and just gently press that knee back. And then switch sides. So for me, I have my right foot planted. I take my left foot up and I'm externally rotating in the hip. I'm crossing my left ankle over the right knee. And from here, again, you can just push that knee back. And if you need a little bit more, pick the whole position up, thread the arm through the hole that the bent knee is making, and just pull that whole position towards your chest. Again, if you need a little extra, just take one hand out and gently press the knee back. And release it. Hug both knees into your chest and just a gentle rock side to side. And rock yourself up to sitting. And there you have it. So that was a full body Pilates mat workout using small weights or cans or just whatever you have lying around. And don't worry if you didn't have anything, I'm sure you still got plenty of work in. Hope you are enjoying that, and I'll see you next time.